What's up, everybody? Dan here from Headwaters Kayak. I'm going to bring you guys along for just a casual paddle to Whiskeytown Lake. I'm going to talk a little bit about the gear I use when I'm out paddling for myself. And then also, a buddy of mine just sent me a brand new skirt from his new skirt company, and I wanted to show you that too. So let's go for a paddle. We'll talk about some gear and hopefully have a good time. So today we're going to launch from Brandy Creek, and I'm noticing the winds kind of picking up coming out of the west. So I thought I would take a moment and just check my wind finder app. That's the app I use to check on local winds. It gives you a map and kind of shows you the wind direction, tells you if it's changing, if it's building. So I like to look at that first and just sort of plan my trip accordingly, because what I don't want to do is paddle way east and then have the wind building up in the afternoon and having to slog back. So I'm always trying to look at whatever winds or tides I have in an area and try to plan my trip accordingly. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do though today is go ahead and do a trip down to Boulder Creek. I'll show you that here on a map. We're going to go to the west, we're going to go around this big peninsula, follow the shoreline, and then right over here is Boulder Creek comes in. Cool little spot, just good turnaround spot, really pretty place to jump in and swim. So let's have a look at my ride here. This is the Stellar S18 Expedition Generation 2. The Expedition model comes with the multi-sport layup, so carbon Kevlar weave is their strongest, stoutest, most robust layup they do. And then the Expedition model also comes with a keel strip that runs the entire length of the boat. So all 18 feet is protected by a fiberglass keel strip. The Expedition model also features the front day hatch as well as the rear day hatch. Look at how long and narrow the front end is on this boat. And then you can see it goes wider to the back. I find this boat to be super practical for my everyday paddling. It's fast, it's efficient, it's stable, it's maneuverable. It does everything I want it to do well. So I would say one of the main reasons I choose my Stellar more often than any of my other kayaks. It's just that one-handed pickup. You know, it's just so light, easy to maneuver around. It's not a chore to use, so I tend to use it more. This boat comes in at around, multi-sport, I want to say it's like 39 pounds. Ooh, nice, that's a nice fit. So I'm also testing out the new Oakdrop skirt today. This skirt company is actually my friend Alex, who used to work with me at Eddyline Kayaks, and wanted to start a skirt company that utilized this technology. It's a polyurethane polyester blend, and so it's really lightweight, it's breathable, but it's watertight like a neoprene. They're handmade in the UK. A company called Reed made them initially, and now they're being branded and sold in the US under the Oakdrop name tag. It's funny to get back in this kayak after I've been paddling my Pachina a bunch. You know, the Pachina is somewhere around the neighborhood of like 25 or 26 inches wide. This one is in the neighborhood of 21 inches wide, so definitely quite a bit tippier. Maybe tippier is not the right word, but quicker to the secondary edge. It's one of those things, you just got to get the feel for the edges of your kayak, and once you do, the tippiness goes away. It's just your body sort of calibrating to the boat. Other notable things on this paddle is the brand new iPick from Gearlabs Outdoors. They're a composite Greenland paddle manufacturer out of Taiwan. I've been using the Kayak for the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. Boulder Creek originally sponsored me with the paddle. They're up there in Portland, Oregon. And Gearlabs took a notice to me liking and using their paddles, so they decided to send me out this. It's the new iPick. This one's 225 centimeters. It's got a really like defined shoulder, an oval shaft, which is incredibly cool. Check that out. I like it a lot. You know, I did that whole bit about the wind, and as I paddle here, it's kind of glassing out. I don't think we're going to have much wind today. I think it's going to be really chill. So let's talk a little bit about the Greenland paddle stroke, because, you know, I paddle Greenland paddles on this channel, but I don't talk about them a whole ton. Greenland paddles, people assume they're just not as powerful as a standard Euro blade, but they totally are. In fact, they're, in a lot of ways, they're a lot more efficient than a standard Euro blade, just because they're super buoyant. When you put that thing in the water, it wants to bounce out of the water. They're super lightweight. And because it doesn't have like a set power grab, you know, there's not like, in a Euro paddle, there's like a spot on the paddle where you catch it, anchor it, rotate. A Greenland paddle is a little bit more dynamic throughout the stroke. You know, the center of power changes across the blade. So it's a little bit different style, but it's every bit as efficient. And I can do anything pretty much with a Greenland paddle that I can do with a Euro paddle. And I can do a lot of things with a Greenland paddle that I just can't do with a Euro paddle. So I like that. But when I'm using a Greenland paddle, I have to modify my stroke. first thing I notice is I'm used to an offset. So I have to like consciously be aware of where my paddle's entering the water, at least for the first few minutes. But you notice how it's a little bit lower stroke. You know, on Euro paddle, I'm up here and I'm pushing, I'm driving. With my Greenland paddle, it feels a lot more comfortable lower, closer to my lap. You notice my top hand is pushing around closer to my chest as opposed to being up by my eyebrows. When I paddle like normal, it has a lot of slip and it's weird. But when I move that stroke down, it just feels really efficient, really powerful. And then the other thing about my forward stroke is I take my paddle and I cant it forward. So as I'm entering the water, I'm not entering like this. I'm actually entering with the bottom face, if you will, the bottom of the blade, angled towards me a little bit. And that just helps the paddle slice down into the water and get instant traction. Because I'm still catching up by my feet, I'm still reaching forward, and I'm still using my torso to drive every stroke. So that part doesn't change. You still have to paddle with your torso. You're still driving with your feet. It's really just the angle of the stroke that changes and the position of the blade that changes. It's still important to have a loose grip on your paddle. You don't want to be death gripping it as you go. And it's important to rotate from the hips to engaging that whole torso and engaging that leg drive to help power the kayak forward with every stroke. I just forget how speedy this kayak is. When I'm gliding along here in this flat water, it feels like I can just cruise at 4 or 5 miles an hour with almost little to no effort. All right, time to cool off. So this boat is no Greenland rolling boat by any stretch of the imagination, but it's got decent thigh contact and great hip contact, so it's pretty easy for me to roll. Ah, it feels so good. Nice. I chose a forward finish roll because I don't have nose plugs. And the thing with the forward finish roll is I tip over backwards and I finish going forwards. So I don't ever have my face up in the water and I don't get water at my nose. So yeah, that's awesome. This paddle, dude, this paddle has so much flotation. Really good for that. Oh, all right, let's keep it going. Feels good to cool off. We've had the most mild summer in Redding this year. It's only gotten up to 100 a few times. And we do have a heat wave coming in this weekend, but like today's maybe 90 degrees. It's been beautiful up here. Get it out. Get that lake water out. All right, just for fun, I'm going to swap out to the Kayak, which is my old paddle I've had for many, many years now, old familiar. You can see the biggest difference between these two, or maybe you can see it. See how hard that spot is where I grip right there? It's fairly fat and chunky. Whereas the Kayak over here is a little bit narrower, a little bit, not a little bit, a lot more tapered. Feels like it has a little bit less buoyancy too, which for rolling, I may not like as much, but I think for actually just paddling, I might like it a lot. So we're gonna give this thing a shot. Okay, cool. All right. So funny how you go back to your old paddle. I was like, oh, this thing feels like home. I almost feel like there's no neutral position on this paddle. Does that make sense? Like, it's dynamic. It just, you put it wherever it needs to be. That's one of the things I've always really liked about soft-shouldered paddles. is if I'm doing a sweep stroke, I guarantee I'm extending it out and I'm not thinking about it, I'm just doing it. It feels so much narrower this way. It's interesting. That oval shaft definitely fits my big hands better. But the grip of the paddle and the feel of the paddle in the water, I actually really like this one too. Dang. Now, if I had to choose Euro paddle or Greenland paddle for the rest of my life, I could only have one, it would definitely be Greenland paddle. I would hate to make that choice because the Euro paddle is so much better for what I like to do in the river, surfing, things like that. It's just got more grab, more punch. But the Greenland paddle offers just hours and hours of endless entertainment for me, whether it be rolling or just playing with strokes. And then the efficiency long term, this is just easier on my body. I've got this torn labrum in my shoulder, which is not bad enough to have repaired. So I'm just sort of nursing it. And for that, the Greenland paddle makes a huge difference. Well, guys, we're here. We made it, Boulder Creek. And you'll see why I love this spot. See these like white sand beaches. Water is just crystal clear. Blackberries are going off. This is prime time if you're into blackberries. Only got a week or two left. They'll start shriveling on the vine, so get out here and pick them. The water just gets crystal clear, so much colder. Into the road. All right, what do you say we find a beach, get out, stretch our legs. I gotta jump in this water. It's so cold and crisp, it feels so good. Let's do it. Oh. All right, nice to get out on a sandy beach for once. Beats the last time in the Pachina, crawling up those slippery rocks. Figured I would stop at this little white beach. There's a nice family back there in the cove that wanted to enjoy the creek, so not a bad spot though, huh? Well, just as our wind forecast called, there it is. It literally flipped 180 degrees and I'm gonna have that headwind that I talked about, but it said it was only going to 6 or 7 at the absolute max, so we'll be able to handle that. That's why I like a nice fast boat. I'm not really too concerned about the wind. Had I been on a paddleboard or a little wreck kayak, this would have been such a bummer. But in a sea kayak, it's no big deal. Look at how crystal clear it is here. So pretty. So I've been paddling with my daughter a lot lately, and she's getting ready for a skirt. And this is her biggest fear, is forgetting to leave the handle out. That's why it's bright yellow. And I've just learned from early on, and I'm teaching her early on, you have to know where this is and it has to be out every time. Some things in life are just musts. This is one of those things. Now, could I get it off by like pulling it off the side? Absolutely. You won't die. A lot of people, including my daughter, have a lot of fear of the skirt, but it's like riding a bike with clip pedals. Like once you do it, you're like, okay, it's actually not that big of a deal. It's fairly intuitive, and it's just so much better in a kayak. You don't have to worry about water getting on you. You don't have to worry about edging. Yeah, it's just way more fun. You're way more capable as a kayaker with the skirt on and with the right clothing, so you can kind of become amphibious. Man, you couldn't ask for a better day in Redding. Just enough wind to keep it cool. Crystal clear water. Warm sunshine. It doesn't get much better. But you see why I had to come out to these islands, you guys. Look at this. I definitely feel like it's worth coming up here to check this place out if you're looking for a, weekend trip or wanting to do a destination kayak tour. Like Whiskey Town has it going on. I mean, right now we're just getting into prime season. Like really, August, September, even October can be really nice. And it's nice year round. I guess the gear changes, but for the next couple months, the water will be decently nice. The weather will be nice and there'll be less and less people as kids go back to school. So definitely a good time to come paddle around out here. All right, I'm gonna wrap this tour up today, you guys. That was super duper fun. Not a lot of plan for this video, just wanted to get out and go for a paddle and clear my head. Sometimes when you're overwhelmed and stressed out, going and doing the thing you love to do, the thing that makes you happy, is kind of the reset our body needs, because it brings out our best self, allows us to refocus, and then you can go back and tackle that problem with fresh perspective. And I'm speaking for everyone, I guess I should just speak for myself, but I know a lot of people that feel the same out there. So get out there, go for a paddle, enjoy the great outdoors. We'll see you guys on the next one.